Let me just check one more time if everything is working alright. Alright, it is, I think. So anyway, basically, what I'm gonna go over today is one is this tier list mainly. Like this tier list is missing a couple of Shiki, like the latest ones, which are like I think it's Furi, one of those. There's Bookman, there's Senhime, and there's Kinara missing. I think these are the four main ones that are missing, which I'll just explain like without them being present over here, and that's fine. But apart from that, I'll just also go over a few things. Like one thing is like this game mode is vastly different from um, like the actual 5v5 game mode. So one thing that needs to be understood about this tier list is that the Shikigami that are good in the normal 5v5 are not necessarily good here as well. And necessarily the ones that are good here might not be good in a normal 5v5 setting. So this tier list is entirely with the context of this particular game mode. So just keep that in mind. Alright, so since we're on the topic of Shiki, let's start with the dice optimization. So basically when you enter the game mode, you have these dice which are given by the game for free of course, and you're given one free roll per game that you start. So basically what you want to do is that the S tier Shiki that I'm going to put here are the Shikigami that you definitely do not want to skip. These are sort of the Shiki that are going to be game changers and will most likely lead you to a second place at the very least if played correctly. The A tier are is that it's not worth it to use the dice to skip here. These are already very good Shikigami and it's not a good idea to skip these for a hope of a better one, in my opinion, because the dice is obviously very limited and you don't want to use the mystery vouchers or the what do we call it, or jade for these. So 8 tier also you don't want to skip. B tier is where you have a choice of skipping them. Is that if you're really good at the Shikigami in this tier, then you might want to go ahead with them. But if you're not very good at them, then you might as well just skip them because they are not game changers and not they are not really strong, but they're just alright. And I think it's worth the extra dice. C tier obviously you might want to skip them as well. They are not very good. And D tier is definitely you want to skip these guys because it's gonna be a little bit rough to get a first place with these Shiki. Obviously, if there's a carry in your team, then you can coordinate the comms. But by self, like if you guys have like two D tiers or three D tiers without having any S tier or A tier, it will be tough for you guys to win. Obviously, it depends on skill partially, but of course, we're talking about purely drafts here. So, yeah, let's talk in the context of that. And F tier is definitely you most definitely want to skip these guys because it's just really tough to get any kills with these guys. And that's the main thing with this game mode, which is that you want to get kills. Like assists are really irrelevant here because assists is part of like suppose you could have like 30 assists, but out of those 30 assists, 20 of those assists were to an opponent team. Like you helped a red team get kills against the yellow team, then it's really not good for you in that situation. So yeah, like assists are not going to be your focus. Your focus are going to be how to get kills, which is why F tiers are going to be mainly Shiki like supports, some of the supports, and some of the tanks. I'll get into it when it comes to that. So yeah, this is sort of how the Shiki tier list is gonna go in terms of dice, how you're supposed to manage the dice, and how I've sort of made these tiers. Like, what is the breakdown? What is the requirement for the Shiki to be in each category? Let's say. Alright, so speaking of drafts, there is another thing that you guys need to understand is that while the game is going on or before the game even starts, you can sort of on the game screen when you see the Shikigami, all the different teams, you can sort of make out if you want to go for a first place here or do you want to settle for a second place. because that is also a real thing. Because in this game mode, you're giving points based on if you get first or second. Either situation is actually a win for you as long as you don't get third. So that is the one thing that you really want to avoid in this situation. You might want to fight for first depending on what sort of draft you have, what sort of draft the opponent has, and is that beneficial for you or not, and how much gold you have, how much gold the opponent has, based on all of this stuff like that. But uh, yeah, you can sort of make out if it's a first place or second place draft sort of thing. So sometimes there are strategies which you can apply, which is like you might want to, if you're suppose if another team is at like 25 kills and you're at 15 kills, for example, and your opponent, the third team is around 10 kills or something like that. So there is a thing you can do here is to intentionally go and feed to the 25 kill team so that you can just complete the game right there and like as soon as possible so that they reach 30 kills as fast as possible and you can go on to the next game as fast as possible, and also you can secure that second place. Because what you don't want to happen is that you try to fight for the first place in this losing battle, and by chance the third team in the current position, the team which has 10 kills, manages to get a penta or something like that, manages to kill you and kill the first place team currently with 25 kills, and now they're in second place and you're in third place, and then the fourth team manages to kill them or you or whatever, and now the game is over and you finish in third place, which would be the worst case scenario. So yeah, there is a strategy where you can just settle for the second place rather than actually fighting it out in a like losing battle, let's say. Alright, so yeah, there is that. Okay, so let's start getting into the actual tier list for now. So starting with Vampira, I would give her an A or a B tier, to be honest. I think she goes in B because Vampira is strong. Should I go and put it in A though? It really depends, you know. It depends on the opponent team's draft as well. But Vampira can be either an A or a B. So basically, the reason why Vampira is good is because she has first of all she has a lot of AoE and sustain, and the way this game mode works is that gold is king in this game mode. So basically in 5v5 the gold is usually pretty equal among the different laners. So there's really no big imbalance unless you get fed. Then the imbalance appears. But the gold is usually pretty stable, so it really depends on skill of the Shikigamis on how their matchup is and etc. like that. But in this game mode, you can actually monopolize the gold and you can actually capitalize on it to make it a winning advantage for you. And there are Shikigami that scale really well when they get a lot of gold. And Vampira is one of them, which has really good scaling, and it's like a hyper carry, if you've heard the term, is sort of the meta in this game mode, where you get a Shikigami and you get as much gold as possible, and then you try to carry, getting as much kills as possible. So for that you need Shikigami that scale really well. If you get suppose a support Shikigami really fed, they don't scale very well, and their skills don't have as much damage, so there's really no point to that. Whereas if you scale Shikigami like for example Marksman or like Vampira or stuff like that, then it's a good strategy for you to win, right? So yeah, Vampira, that's why Vampira is so high tier in this game mode. Like I said, rather A or B, depends. Because sometimes you get a lot of CC and you get a lot of burst damage, which Vampira doesn't do good against. So it is not very good to have her in some drafts, but she'd still be a B tier in those. Or she could be an A tier in a draft where there are a lot of tanks and stuff like that, where she could really dominate with her gold. Alright then. Vampira is B. For Samurai X, I would give him a D tier in my opinion, because Samurai X does have a lot of CC, and you could put him along with a, for example, a carry, like suppose Dodo or suppose Kiki or something like that, and basically that would be a sort of your comp. So so it's more of like a supporting role which you do, and he provides very good CC. So yeah, if you're going along with your teams, or if even if you're in random one player among other three, you can choose samurais based on if you have a carry in your team or not. So I think I would put him in C tier, to be honest. I leave it up to you whether you want to keep Samurai X or not. You have to make that decision based on your draft. If you have a carry in your team already, then you can just go along with Samurai X because he's going to support that carry and make it easier for them to get as many kills as possible, or zone for them to get gold and stuff like that. So yeah, Samurai X is a decent pick if you have a carry in your team. But if you don't have a carry in your team, if you have other two tanks or support something like that, then you might want to roll this guy away. So it depends on that. Otengu is a solid A tier. He has a lot of spamming skills and he has a lot of burst, which makes him pretty good for this tier, and he has very good stealing. He does very good burst damage as he gets more gold. It's possible for you to one-shot, two-shot things with the one shot or two-shot thing with the combos. I mean, if you complete one combo, you might just directly kill an opponent, or two or three, because he also has a lot of AoVs. So yeah, Otengu is a pretty solid pick for this game mode. Yukiroji is a B tier in my opinion. Yukiroji has decent damage and he can cleanse with the CC, and he can also support your carry by providing CC. So yeah, but he is not an A tier in my opinion. He doesn't do enough of like his specialty. Like he doesn't, suppose the damage is concerned, he does decent damage, but he doesn't do a lot. So it's like average damage, and the CC is pretty good CC, but like it's tough in this game mode because there's a lot of damage coming his way. Like he gets burst down pretty fast. Like if people target him actually, I mean some people just don't target him for some reason. Like when he's CCing people. So yeah, I mean it depends on the players as well. But yeah, he gets burst down pretty fast and he doesn't have as much damage. So he doesn't really cut it to A tier, but he's a pretty solid B tier in my opinion. Onikiri is an A tier, solid A tier. Onikiri does very well against marksmen, which are sort of a meta in this category because marksmen are the carries mainly. Because you can get them a lot of gold and have them dominate the game. But Onikiri is pretty easy to just one-shot these marksmen with. So yeah, that's why he's an A tier. Like marksman and mage both die pretty easily to Onikiri, and in this game mode Onikiri has a lot of free reign. There are no towers really, so Onikiri can go anywhere and it's very easy for him to reach and combo. So yeah, it makes him really dominant in this game mode. But again, he's not an S tier because he does not just win you the game. Like he does not have that. I mean, of course, depends on the player. Like, if he's a really good player, then he can just straight up win you the game. But yeah, as just a Shikigami, normally, if you assume normal skill level, he's a solid A tier, but he is not a carry really. Susabi is a B tier in my opinion. Susabi has decent burst, and he has good mobility and CC. But yeah, he is just not as strong as the Shikigami in A tier. Like, it's a bit tough to pull him off. Like, of course you can pull him off, but yeah, I mean, compared to the other stuff, let's say, like, compared to the other stuff that you're going to see in tier A and tier S, it's not as easy to pull him off, in my opinion. Shuten Doji is A tier in my opinion, because Shuten Doji becomes really dominant in this game mode. It's really easy to get kills with him. And if you get like the amulets, it's even more useful for him. But it depends on which build you go with Shuten Doji. Some of the Shuten Doji builds are really useless, and some Shuten Doji builds are pretty good. So yeah, you have got to know which builds to go with. Do not focus on all damage, because if you focus on all damage, you're going to get burst down fast. But if you go like semi-damage, semi-tank sort of ish build, Shiro Doji becomes really dominant because he sort of provides good tank as well, and he also provides damage. Also with his ulti, it's possible to steal kills because it sort of targets the lowest enemy nearby, lowest HP enemy nearby, and it's possible to just life off the enemy like that. So yeah, I mean it's possible. He's pretty good in this game now. Just Shio is an F tier. Do not pick her in my opinion. Like if you have an Hakuro or something in your team and you wanna go with it, then maybe. Like if you don't, if you want to be frugal with your dice, if you're planning on grinding or not, then yeah, I think you can pick her. But apart from that, I think she's a pretty bad pick in my opinion. SPs, a lot of SPs in general are in this game mode. So yeah, I mean, I don't think that's a good idea. Tesso is either an A or he's an S tier. Tesso might just be an S tier. Yeah, let me think. No, I think Tesso is an A tier. Yeah. And the reason for that is Tesso scales really well with gold. And actually, I'll just put him in S tier. Yeah, I think I'll just go with S tier. He's really strong in the right hands in my opinion. Sort of depends on the draft of your teammates as well. But yeah, he's a really solid pick in my opinion because Tesso gets additional gold from his passive, which does activate in this game mode as well. So it's really easy to get Tesso fed in this game mode. And Tesso really scales well, of course, because the more gold passives that he accumulates, the more coins he has on his ult and the faster it shoots out. So yeah, if you get gold fast on Tesso, it's possible to get 20 kills in a game with Tesso, and it's really dominant in my opinion. Unless the team targets him and your team cannot defend you properly, which happens. So yeah, there are obviously points where you might just lose because of that, but apart from that, just as a pick, he's really good. Kise in my opinion is pretty bad pick because Kise is too slow in this game mode. Like although his ult sounds very good, like on paper in this game mode, it actually isn't. Like because when you try to form your squares and stuff like that in this game mode, you sort of have to overextend. And people, it becomes really easy for enemies to catch you there, and it's just not a very good idea for in this game mode. Like it's a fast-paced game mode, and you'd like to have mobility and you'd like to have some burst. Kise does have burst, but it's a bit slow, bit too slow, and he really doesn't have a lot of mobility. It's easy to catch him, which is another point that I wanted to say, is that you can try to find teams in this game mode to just bully straight up. So what I mean by that is that you can go to these teams like the same wall kind of thing, and you can just kill them there. Like after there's a small spawn protection time period that the enemies have, but after that, if they come out and they try to run back into the same well, you can actually just chase them and kill them. Some teams with your entire team, like you can just go and you can just kill them. Like if there's 3 mages or something like that, and you have a draft that works against it, you can actually just go into the wells and kill them and then come back out. Which is so you can try to find these teams sometimes. Like you have to be attentive and you have to notice the damage that you do to the enemy and how well they can actually fight back against it. If they can't fight back very well, if they're sort of helpless, you want to find those teams and you want to target them rather than focusing and fighting on a sort of even-ish sort of playing field against the other team. You want to find this team and you want to target them so that you can accumulate those easy kills. And Kise is sort of that guy which you can target and kill easily. So yeah, that's why he's in D tier. Momiji is like a C tier. It's like a double-edged sword in a sense, because Momiji can be very good because of her ult, and the refresh amulet that you get is really good on her because you can ult and then you can refresh, then you can ult. So yeah, that can possibly secure you a couple of kills like that. So she is decent, but the problem is that Momiji is too vulnerable. It's easy to kill her. So yeah, I mean again, like you say, she's also in that able to bully category. We can just go into a well and kill her, like chase her into the well and kill her. So it's like a double-edged sword. Like you can get a lot of kills, but it's also very likely that you're just going to get camped and killed very easily. Things can also one-shot, you know, like if somebody gets a damage amulet and they have like a burst Shikigami like Kubinashi, they can just one-shot Momiji, given they have a decent bit of gold. So yeah, that's why it's not very good. Kanko, in my opinion, is either S tier or A tier. Um, let's just put him in A tier for now. Huh. What do you sort of think about this one? Because Kanko is very dominant in this game mode, surprisingly. Like, of course, the recent Heaven Thunder buff actually helped him a lot, generally as well. But apart from that, in this game mode as well, Kanko is surprisingly dominant because of his ult, one of the reasons. But apart from that, also is just his skills hit pretty hard, and and his S1 can sometimes secure kills on low HP enemies, which you might not have otherwise gotten with some other Shikigami. But yeah, Kanko overall, I think he has pretty decent scaling, which is why he's does a lot of damage, and it's tough to stop him. Like if you're not careful, then he can just end the game. Like he can ramp up kills over time and then just end the game. Like it's tough to stop him in end game then, because of course his team is also there, right? Shishio is like a solid B tier in my opinion. Like if I were to rank them in B tier as well, it would be something like this. No, something like this in my opinion. And something like this for this. Okay. Yeah, so there was that. Shishio is actually pretty good. Like Shishio has really good mobility, and his AoE is pretty circle is pretty huge, so it's very easy to reach enemy. And with the Swift Amulet, it becomes even easier for you to just drag enemies back to your team with his ult. And yeah, he's pretty good like that in this game mode. He has pretty solid damage if you go all damage build, which I recommend. I recommend you go all damage build on him. Do not worry about tank, and just focus on getting kills with him. Of course, don't try to solo a lot, but yeah, there's times where you can just go into a two-man and just ult into them and use your skills and finish both of them off. It's possible. So yeah, he's pretty good in this game mode. Inuyasha is a B tier also in my opinion. Surprisingly, Inuyasha is pretty good in this game mode. But again, there's a slight issue with him. Like Inuyasha is good, of course, because he scales well, and he has a lot of damage. It just sort of ramps up his attack speed, and he takes less and less damage, like because of Chidori as well, and because he life steals a lot of it back. So once he gets started, it's tough to stop him. But at the same time, it's also very easy to camp him. Like I said, the Shikigami that he can bully. Like Hisei and Momiji, Inuyasha is also one of them which you can technically bully, because it takes 3 hits to get Inuyasha's passive started, where he starts hitting faster and faster and faster. So before that happens, Inuyasha does pretty much no damage. He just has to knock you off and then jump and stuff like that, but he has no real damage. So yeah, Inuyasha is also relatively easy to bully till mid game or slash end game, like in this game mode, which is why he's a B tier. But he's still a bit better than Momiji, because again, if you actually utilize him well, then he's super dominant, which Momiji is not as dominant. Tanuki is a C tier in my opinion, and the reason for that is, of course, he has very good mobility and he has good CC. So again, if you have like a carry in your team, like a Kikyo or even Dodo or something like that, then Tanuki becomes very good, because You've already secured the carry, and you do not need multiple carries in one team. You can, of course, but you don't need them. So you can go with Tanuki in this situation and just help the carry get more kills and zone the enemies out so that your carry can get better, like get gold easier, which is same funda as this guy basically. Dodo is an A tier in my opinion. She's not an F tier, although she scales very well. She's not an A tier in my opinion because she's very squishy and I've seen a lot of people miss her ult a lot, in which case she can't CC properly, and things like Onikiri and stuff just pick her off too easily. Not even Onikiri necessarily, it's like a lot of stuff picks her off easily. But of course she can be dominant, which is why she's an A tier. And she is normally also pretty dominant, you can get kills relatively easy with her. She's just not super good in this game mode in my opinion. Kamai is like a B tier in my opinion. Because again, Kamai has really good scaling. It's possible to carry with him. He has CC immune on his ult, which makes stuff like this and this useless. So suppose you are an anime, Kikyo, Samurai X and some other comp, Kamai Tachi just solo ignores them all. He can just go in and he can just kill Kikyo directly and none of them can do anything about it because it's CC immune. So yeah, stuff like that. I'm streaming. So yeah, stuff like that makes Kamai Tachi very good in this game mode. And I'm streaming. Huh? अब बिजी हूँ बताऊँ. Right, so Ichigo is an F tier in my opinion because again, support surge in general is just not a very good idea in this game mode because again, like they do not this is pretty ironic, but they do not provide enough support because what happens in game mode is that oftentimes there's a lot of burst coming your way, so the supports really can't tank through it all, and they also don't get any kills, which you need kills. So even if you manage to get your even if you manage to get your carry a few kills, what happens is that the enemy team is just getting more kills, and your support cannot get those kills, which makes it like a numbers game basically. The enemy team just has more numbers than you and it's faster. So you end up losing that way. Which is why, like suppose although are decent, they are not actually a very good idea in this game mode in my opinion. Ethan is a C tier in my opinion because she does scale well and she does have pretty good damage. She's like at the top of C tier. Maybe even a B tier. Like a low B tier. Yeah, she's like a low B tier. Because she has very good scaling, she has decent CC, her fear is AoE. And yeah, in general, she's just very good in this game mode because it's easy to reach with her. She does a lot of burst damage. Again, yeah. One more thing here is do not go the tank build with Itan. Go full burst Itan because although the tank Itan is very good in normal 5v5 arena, it's not very good in this game mode because you do need that burst to secure kills and for your passive to activate, and you want to lifesteal more. So yeah. Just go with full damage and she's a B tier. If you go full tank, then she's like a C or D tier. Shiro Doji is S tier. He has a lot of burst and he has a lot of mobility and sustain, and it's tough to kill him because he's like a cockroach. Of course, he's like a cockroach. It's tough to catch him. He has a lot of burst. There's just by throwing his S1 and then clicking his S3, he has a lot of damage. And then if you click his ult on top of that, it's almost a guaranteed kill on any squishy unit, like if with your teammate and stuff like that. And he scales very well. He scales really well. So yeah, like he can just carry the game basically. He's one of the main carries. Inuyami is like a solid A tier. Somewhere here. Yeah, he's like a solid A tier. He has very good scaling, but yeah, I mean, I think let's put him over here. Oh yeah. He has really good scaling, but for some reason he doesn't really perform that well. Like if he doesn't get the gold that he needs, like if you manage to monopolize gold with Inugami, then he would become an S tier. But chances are when you play against high rankers or like people who basically know what they're doing, it's tough to like sort of ramp up that gold. So okay, so here comes another tip, which is that do not leave the center alone for too long. Where are the gold spawns? Do not chase after a team for too long. Like I said, you can bully these sort of like which I found like if you found a team you can bully, then of course go and kill them, but do not leave the center empty for far too long. Come back to it because what happens is that you're giving the other team an opportunity to just go in there and farm all the gold. So although they will be down kills momentarily, they have the opportunity to get like 1,000, 1,200, 1,400, like or even 2,000 gold, which makes a big difference. So yeah, you do not want to leave the center alone for too long because this Inugami, stuff like Inugami will not actually chase you for the kills. Inugami will go to the center and he'll pick up all the gold. And then he'll pick up an amulet and then he'll come after you and it'll be tough for you to kill him because he'll be really strong and dominant with that extra item that he got just then. And then he can actually turn the game around, which is the sad part. Kiyohime is an S tier. Top. Let's rotate. Alright. So Kiyohime is really strong. Do not sleep on her. Kiyohime has a lot of burst damage, surprisingly. Like not burst, I guess it's DPS technically, but she's managed. She can kill the enemies really fast, and she has decent sustain because of her kit. Basically, she has a lot of lifesteal, and she scales really well. So if you just manage to get, so your game plan is to get a lot of gold in early or mid game, and then you can just basically dominate. It's it's really tough to kill Kiyohime when she accumulates a lot of gold. If your team doesn't move with you at all, then of course it's easy to kill Kiyohime. But if Kiyohime is with a team, then yeah, it's really tough to kill Kiyohime, and she just accumulates kill very fast. Like she can get like a triple, quad, penta, hexa before you know it. Like it just turns around like that when she gets enough gold. This is like a low B tier. Like he does alright in this game mode, but I don't recommend it in my opinion. So maybe I'll put it in C, like high C, high C. Yeah. So I would not recommend him, but he does alright. Of course, you can manage to kill steal with his ult. You can manage to hit people in the nexus or whatever, which is ult. So in that way he's good. He does decent harass, he has decent range, he has decent immobilize, but he's not amazing. I mean, let's put him in B tier maybe, above Itan. Yeah, he can do all of this stuff, but he's not super dominant because again, like in this game mode, you need some sort of like a carry mechanic, like which these guys have. These guys have really strong scaling. Tamamu has decent scaling. He doesn't have really strong scaling, and he does not snowball really. Like these guys snowball. So yeah, that's basically the point. Higan is like a decent A tier. Higan does really good. You gonna go with her Shichiman build. You do not want to go with the Mandala build because then she's too squishy. But with Shichiman build, she has decent tank and she can stick around for long. And if you've played against or if you use Higan, then you just know, like for some reason she just managed to secure a lot of kills. Like she can kill steal very well for some reason. But yeah, I think she's really strong in this in this game mode. She might have been an S tier, but she doesn't have enough. I think what do we call it? She doesn't have enough mobility. I think if she had more mobility, then she might have been an S tier as well. Aobozu is like a solid B tier in my opinion. Yeah. He's strong. Buddha form is stronger than Demon Beam form in my opinion in this game mode. He provides for a pretty good tank with a carry, and he can also secure a few kills himself. In general, he's just very good. I think I'm gonna try to speed along the things a bit, like and not give as detailed description because we've got a long list to go. It'll take all day if I elaborate too much. Ryomen is like a low D tier. Yeah, he's like a D tier. It's I do not like he's still a Bokis in my opinion because he does alright. He can pick up a couple of kills. His CC is there obviously, but he's not super strong. And you want to go with the tank build for him because the damage build really doesn't do anything, and he does die so fast. Manen is a D tier. I've honestly never seen Manen in this game mode. Maybe an F tier. Because yeah, I've just never seen him in this game mode. And I don't think anybody uses him really. He's not that good. Yasha is like a B tier. But Yasha is a situational B tier. Yasha is a B tier if you know how to use him. And if you really know how to use him, then he's an A tier. Right? But if you do not know how to use him, then just simply do not pick him, because then he's an F tier. Because if you do not know how to use him, he has a pretty high difficulty scale. Like, if you do not know how to use him, you cannot get kills by accident on him, which you can with some other Shiki. For example, if you don't know how to use Shuten, you can still pick up few kills, no problem. But Yasha, you cannot pick up a few kills by accident or anything like that. You actually need to know how to use him, which is why he's a situational B tier, and if you're really good with him, then he's an A tier. Chin is an S tier, of course. Chin is just super strong. Chin bursts things very fast. She scales very well with cold. Of course, she uses Juzu, so she does percentage HP damage. So no matter who you are, you're not safe. You're going to melt super fast. She has her hog bow, so she can target multiple enemies at once. And yeah, she's just super dominant. She's very strong. If you get her, do not skip her. Just get her regardless. Like the things in S tier, just get these guys when you see them. Even if you can't use them, your teammate most likely can use them. Hana is like in B tier. Somewhere in B tier. Like around here. Hana is alright. She provides for a decent support. For your carry, she gets a few kills herself. She does alright damage. But she's not super good. MOBA is again a B tier around here somewhat. Because MOBA can actually get a lot of kills if you really know how to play MOBA. But if you cannot control her driving well, you're just going to go off to random places and you're not going to get a lot of kills. But if you get the timing right and then you ult at the correct moment, then yeah, she's super good. Jiki is D tier no matter where he is. Super bad. Menreiki is like a C tier. She's not very good in this tier in this game mode because her AoE is too narrow. She's like a straight beam which does not cover a lot of range in my opinion. And her normal mode does not do a lot of damage. Her ult does alright damage, but again it's not a lot of damage. Her scaling is not amazing. She's a DPS of course. So yeah, her scaling is not supposed to be amazing, but yeah, she doesn't do enough in my opinion. She's like a C tier. She's a solid C tier. But yeah, she's not that amazing. I would not recommend. Kusa is a B tier. Pretty decent pick. Can get you a lot of kills. Of course, with Kusa, build damage. You know, suppose are supposed to build, of course, the support build normally in a 5v5 game mode, but in this game mode, build damage absolutely on Kusam. Also on Bookman, build damage. Because these guys have good scaling, so you want them to do a lot of damage. And these guys do a lot of damage, like of course. So yeah, do not go with the tank build, you'll be useless like the other supports then. So again, this is situational B tier. B tier given that you build damage. Yumekoi is like an A tier. He's just all around a very good support. He has a lot of CC. He can get a few kills himself. Go with the triple, four, whatever, how many, as much Yata mirrors as you can. Just that build is fine. And yeah, he's He's really good. Of course, he does not carry, but as just a member, he's super strong. Hone is S tier. She's somewhere around. She might even be at the top. No, she's not at the top. She's like here. Hone is very dominant. Get her if you manage. Again, S tier is like, do not skip these guys. Just get them. If you cannot use them, I guarantee your teammate probably can use them. Just get these guys. Don't skip them. A tier is also similar to that, but in A tier, like you sort of have a choice, but S tier is do not skip. Do not skip. No matter what, do not skip these guys. Yoto is like a solid A tier. She's strong, she has good scaling. Her Engade comes in clutch. She has very good scaling, but she's not S tier. She does not do as much in my opinion. But she's somewhere around here. She's stronger than Dodo in my opinion. Puppet is like a strong B tier. She can come in handy, she has very good scaling, she has long reach, she can steal a couple of kills. But yeah, I think that's where she stands. This is an F tier. Hoga actually is an A tier in my opinion because Hoga actually has a fair bit of damage. And of course her tank is also there. She is also support for their carry. And then just overall she's just really good. I might even put her over Dodo in my opinion. She just comes in very handy. Umibozu is like a B tier, somewhere around here, I guess. I might put Kusap. Something like that. Perhaps. Yeah. Right, so Umibozu does alright. He has good CC, he has decent damage. If you go with that build, do not build support again, I emphasize. If you go with his top lane build, he does alright. Kubinashi is S tier. Here. He's super good. If you get him, do not skip him again. He has very good scaling. He's one of the guys who can just one-shot if you get enough gold on him and or an amulet, damage amulet. He has a lot of burst and he can get a lot of kills very fast. Yeah, he's just super good. Momo is like a C tier. Because although she has decent scaling, of course you want to build damage again, and she has a ult. She's not that good in this game mode, in my experience. And also in theory, I don't think it works out really. Alright, Ibaraki is like an A tier. Ibaraki is just really solid in general. Ibaraki is tough to kill, his ult can kill steal very easily. His scaling is pretty good. He can be a support for your MM and just overall Ibaraki is very good. Shiro Doji is like a C tier, same fund as all of these guys, Samurai and Tanuki. Yukiona is like a B tier, she does her job occasionally. Like she does provide decent CC and she can secure some kills. This is the only game mode where her ult actually CC somebody, so that's also amazing for her. So yeah, she's decent in this game mode. She's like a solid B tier. You can skip her or you can choose to pick her, up to you guys. Koso is like a B tier, situational B tier, just like Yasha. If you can use her, she's like also an A tier if you can use her well. If you can use her just alright, she's a B tier. But if you cannot use her, then she's a F tier, of course, because again, it's just the skill gap. You'd need to have the skill on her. A C tier, like it's almost like Mindraki for Enendra as well. Although Enendra's ult comes in handy, you can secure some kills with it. She just has too little mobility and her scaling is not that good, and she's just not that sort of carry sort of build. Carry sort of Shiki. So yeah, although you can do some damage, you can sort of lock her in if you don't have the dice, but it's definitely not very good. Oitsuki is a solid A tier. Like somewhere around here maybe. Yeah. Oitsuki is a very solid A tier. She's super strong. and you can secure a lot of kills with her. Her scaling is really good. Her ult comes in handy a lot, and yeah, overall she's just very good. Hakuro is S tier, of course, very good scaling, and she's a carry sort of Shiki. If you get the gold on her early, you'll win late game. Hangan is like a C tier, of course, again. Same funda as these two guys. So if you can sort of put two and two together. Kyungyo is like an A tier, around here somewhere. Higan is a bit up in my opinion. Put Higan here. Put some respect on Higan. Kyungyo is super strong with the refresh amulet, of course. Because you can, her skills already have a very low cooldown. With refresh amulet it becomes even lower. So you can S1, S2, S1, S2, S1, S2. Thrice in a row immediately. I've done that like a couple of days ago. It just refreshes that fast. You can alt S1, S2, S1, S2, S1, S2 and then alt again. It's just insane. Right, so again, Itsumade is an A tier because the scaling is very good. It's easy to get kills. If you get the swim amulet, swift amulet on her, it's really easy for her to run around and get kills. And in this game mode, her ult isn't dodged as much as it is in normal game mode. So yeah, she's pretty alright. Satori again is A tier. Her scaling is pretty good. You can manage to get a lot of kills with her. But she might just be at the bottom of B tier. Yeah, she's sorry, top of B tier. She's not super good, but she's pretty good. Makitsu is of course S tier because her scaling, and yeah. Yamasagi is like a C tier. Yeah, he's like a C tier. Similar funda to Momo. With Usagi you can build damage, you can build AD, you can build whatever you want. Like he's pretty decent, his ult comes in handy. His shield is nice for your MM, I guess. Hondan is like an A tier. Pretty good A tier at that, somewhere around here. Yeah, she's almost acts like an MM. She has very good range. It's tough for some Shikigami to fight back against her and she can get a lot of kills. Her scaling is very good with gold. Once you get like a few items on her, she goes in. Futa is A tier, she's not S tier. Her scaling is not that good. Her ult rarely secures you some kills. Like of course it does occasionally, but like it's not super handy. So yeah, she's an A tier. Komatsu is like a C tier. Although she's an MM, she also sort of works like Chin and Hakuro. She's just not that good in my opinion. Maybe just put her at the bottom of B tier. Yeah, she's just not as good as them in my opinion, but she's alright. This guy is an A tier because you want to build damage on him, and with his ult he just runs and he manages to get a lot of kills. His S1 has a decent amount of CC, adds a very decent amount of CC, and his S3 is control immune, so that's also great. Kanasu is A tier again, great scaling, great tank, can act as a support to MM. Same funda as Ibaraki. She's a C tier because although her scaling is decent, you just cannot use her. Just like you can't use her in a 5v5. She dies too fast, she does not have any range, you cannot reach the enemy properly, it's just a mess. This guy's a B tier. He does alright, he has decent mobility, he has decent CC, but he's not super dominant. Imoto is like an A tier. She has very good scaling, she has good mobility, she can heal back a lot of her HP, she has decent sustainability, and yeah, she's pretty alright. My throat, it's really going. Alright, so Kyumen Echo is S tier in my opinion. Kyumen Echo is an S tier. She has very good scaling, she has very good she has very good mobility, and yeah, you can carry with her. Like similar to Hone Onna in my opinion, but not as good as Hone Onna. Arakawa is like a low A tier. Or maybe, say no, no, he's like over here somewhere. He's decent, but he's not super super strong. Like he got knocked to the ground basically. So yeah, F. Maybe he's like a D. I don't know. Yeah, Yoko is Yoko is B tier in my opinion, like a low B tier at that. Because again, like although Yoko is supposed to be super strong because he's an MM and his scaling should be decent, but Yoko just has too narrow of a range and his A isn't as strong as Shin or Hakuro or Miketsu. So yeah, that's why like he doesn't do enough. Kikyo is I think the best unit in this game mode. She is just super 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 dominant on the right build. And basically she just, if you get her, guaranteed pick her up. She's super good. If you don't know how to play her, learn how to play her on the go. She's very good. Hanya is okay. By the way, for Kikyo, if you want to know the sequence, upgrade her passive first, then upgrade her skill 2, which is the knockback, and then upgrade her skill 1. Hanya is low B tier, very low B tier. He does alright sometimes, but generally he's just bad. Yamakase is again with these ninjas. Like if you know how to play him, he's even an A tier. But if you don't know how to play him, then again, like no point. If you just know how to play him, it's B tier. If you know how to play him very well, it's A tier. If you don't know how to play him, it's F tier. Maestro is almost an S tier, but he's also an A tier along with Itsuki here. Because yeah, again, very good scaling, easy to reach enemies, decent burst damage, but Maestro also flops at times because stuff like Hone or what was the name, Kyo or Shiro Doji or even Kubi, these things dominate Maestro. So yeah, he's not super strong, but he's decent. Kaguya is like a high A tier because the scaling is super strong. Somewhere around here, yeah. Her scaling is very good, her stun is nice, her ult still works. Of course, you want to build full AP on her because of the damage. She does like almost one-shot people with her combo, like S1 and then S1 bouncing off a couple of times and her passive. So yeah, it does a lot of damage and her ult still negates the same amount of damage. So there is that, of course. Enma is like a C tier in my opinion. The straight shooting does not work in this game mode. It's very hard to line up and you're most likely going to get caught in an awkward position. Kuromojo is like an S tier in my opinion. He's a low S tier but he's an S tier. Because of his execution skill of course. And he just has a lot of mobility and a lot of damage. Mobility with pace and swift amulet of course. But yeah, he can run around swinging his scythe and it's very hard to stop. Ubume is like a B tier. She works, she's alright, but she's not super good. C tier. Because he can pick up a few kills. His damage is percentage HP per defense damage. Like the more defense that he has, the more percentage HP damage he does. So you can secure kills with him. He has decent CC, he has decent tank because he'll always be around walls. And yeah, he's alright. Akususo is not a D tier, he's like a C tier somewhere. Bottom here. This guy is a bit higher up. This guy is over here. Oh, she's down here. Right, something like that. She is also bottom of C tier. She has decent tank, but the tank gets melt very fast when it's getting hit by 4 guys. which is the problem in this game mode. There's a lot of damage. Suzuka is a bottom of S tier in my opinion. Again, because very good scaling, easy to pick up kills. If you get a damage amulet and you ult with her, you can easily pick up a couple of kills. And yeah, Shime is a very high A tier because he has a lot of she has a lot of survivability, sustain, and he has a lot of damage. You want to go with the Shichiman build again. You don't want to go with the Mandala build or he's too squishy. With the Shichiman build, he does alright. You can keep going, keep his combo going, and you can pick up a lot of kills with his ult as well. He's pretty strong. Um, Shiranui is like right here in my opinion. Yeah, yeah, right here, something like this. Right. So Shira is also very good. Her scaling is of course very good. Shira damage is broken. Everybody knows that. So she can just go in and she can combo and kill. Of course, Shira is one of the Shikigami which has a high difficulty level, and you definitely might not be able to use her in a 5v5 sometimes based on your skill level with her. But even if you do not know how to play her very well, you can use it in Brawl and you can get kills with her. Like I was saying, like you cannot get those kills with Yasha or Koso or Yamakase when you don't know how to play them. Shira, even if you don't know how to play her, you can sort of get kills because of just how plain broken she is. Rukia is a high A tier here. Rukia does very good in this game mode surprisingly. She has very good damage, she has decent mobility, she has good mobility, and yeah, overall just she has solid burst and she has decent amount of tank. So it makes it very hard for us to kill her, whereas she can get kills relatively easy on these MMs basically. Ichigo is like a bottom of A tier because he has very good scaling and he does alright, but he's not broken. Because the main reason is that most of the just he might even be like around here somewhere because it's just super hard to stay in your form, Bankai form. Most of the game you're going to be in your base form because you cannot get enough stacks for his Bankai form, which makes it very difficult to actually utilize his full potential. So even if you have gold, he ends up underperforming because you need to take damage to get those stacks to build up for your Bankai form, and then you end up taking too much damage, you end up dying before you can Bankai, and it's just a fool's errand basically. He does end up working sometimes, and in those times when he works, he becomes very strong. That's why he's like a top B tier. Otherwise, yeah. Tiny is like a bottom B tier. Like, I'll put her above these guys. Tani has great CC, great mobility, great tank, great sustain. Just overall good support if you have another carry, and she can always pick up kills. F tier, of course. For Takiyasha, I'd go bottom of A tier. Because Takiyasha does have damage with a true damage form, and she has a lot of tank with a purple form. If you go with the tank build on top of that. So you can stay in fights for a long time, you can provide decent support for your MM, and yeah, you can also pick up kills. There's a Shira repeat for some reason. Let's just count her as Senhime. Senhime, let's just say that this Shira is Senhime, and Senhime would be around here somewhere. Around here. Senhime is decent, she has decent sustain, she has decent damage, but she is not amazing in my opinion. Um, Kujira is like B tier but with these guys, surprisingly. Kujira is an A tier if you can use him very well, he's a B tier if you can sort of use him, and he's an F tier if you cannot use him. Because yeah, you're the thing with Kujira damage build, of course. This I'm talking about the damage build. If you're building a relatively tankier build, then he would just be a stable C tier. But if you're building damage, then if you know how to use him, he's an A tier. If you know how to use him very well, he's an A tier. If you know how to use him normally, he's B tier. If you're bad at him, he's F tier, straight up. Bakis. Just give it an F. Do not pick these guys. Abisu I also put in there. Kainin is like a bottom 8 tier because Kainin has very good scaling, although a lot of people do not know this because you usually do not get Kainin a lot of gold early game, you do not get a fed very fast. But Kainin has super good scaling, so yeah, if you can manage to get a lot of gold on her, she can carry. But her scaling is not as good as Hane or Kyume, that's why she's an A tier and not an S tier. Kido is like an solid A tier, like with this guy maybe. Because again his scaling is very good and he has decent damage and he's an MM basically. Like he's not as good as these guys, but he's very solid in general. Megumata is like in B tier somewhere. Megumata is around here if you know how to use her. If you know how to use her really well, she might be an A tier, but if you do not know how to use her, she's F tier again. She's a D tier. Enmu is a D tier because Enmu has a little bit of damage and Enmu can. One thing is she can spawn on low HP enemies, which which makes it difficult for the enemy. So if the enemy is on super low HP, she can just follow that enemy, and if the teammates do not stick with that enemy, she can just spawn there and she can kill the enemy potentially. So yeah, that's one reason, and she's just better than these supports, I guess. Auri is like a top of B tier. Um, around here, around here. Maybe she's in even A tier. No, she's. I think she's fine around here. Mm, yeah, I think she's fine around here. Auri has decent mobility. Her ult is super handy. Actually, yeah, I think I'll put her. I think I'll put her in A tier. She's pretty strong. If you can play her right, she's pretty strong. Because the ult just goes in. Like if two teams are fighting, and she just throws her ult on them, and it's over. She might just pick up most of those kills. Like of course after S3 and then her ult. Again F tier. Do not pick. Astra is bottom. No, not even. He's like around here somewhere. Go with the damage build, he's pretty alright. His ult comes in handy, he has decent sustain, he can easily pick off squishies. Yeah, I just put him in A tier as well. Like almost similar Funda to Ibaraki to be honest. Izaya is like a low B tier. She does her job sometimes, but she's not super good in my opinion. Otake is like a very low A tier. Like Otake, if you know how to play him well, then yeah, he gets a few kills, he sustains a lot, he's pretty decent. But if not, then yeah, he starts to become less and less useful. Mushishi is an A tier, solid A tier. Build Mushishi damage. Yeah, build Mushishi damage and she's super solid. Because she just does like 1500 damage and stuff like that. So yeah, she's pretty good. And I think with that, it just wraps up our tier list. I think we had to cover a few of these. Fury is pretty decent. He's not super good. He's like a B tier. Somewhere around here. Fury would be somewhere around here. Alright, and what was the other one? It was Bookman. Bookman is a very low A tier. He has very good damage and scaling. So yeah, he is pretty decent. He's a good mage in this game mode. And Senhime already covered. Kinara is a she's either a low A tier or she's a B tier depending on the matchup. I think in my opinion she's mostly a high sort of like she's with Nekomata sort of. That's where she is. Apart from that, I think we covered everything, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I think we've covered just about everything. And as for the tips are concerned, I think I've said everything already. Let me just check if I missed something. Yeah, not really. One more thing which I missed is just don't die early a lot. Like if you die early too much, what happens is that the gold gap forms and the enemy already has a big base to start on. So some if you do not have ST or Shiki for example and you die a lot, what will happen is that these Shiki might not be fast enough to catch up to them even if you're getting kills at the same rate as the enemy after you start scaling well. What will happen is that they will just reach 30 faster than you will. So yeah, that's why you don't want to die early too much. You want to try to stay alive for the most part in early. Like just try to get coins, not take too much risk. Steal amulets if you want to, but do not fight for amulets in early. They're not as important. And yeah, go for an enemy if they overextend a lot or if they already have a low HP, then you can go for them. And of course, chip enemy if they come near you, if they come in range, but do not take too much risk in early. Is my opinion. But yeah, I think with that, I think it concludes our tier list for the most part. We'll have to log in. Yeah, I think I can do that later. I'll log into this and I'll take a screenshot of this tier list and I'll put it. Not really sure where. I can update. I might just update the thumbnail. I'll update the thumbnail with this screenshot so that the people who are watching later it'll be a bit easier for them, I guess. But yeah, I think with that I conclude the stream. Thanks everybody for tuning in live if they did or watching it post. Let me know if you watched it later on or whatever in the comments below and like and subscribe if you can. Anyway, thank you guys. See you next time.